Welcome and thank you for joining our candidate forum for Durham Unified School District. My name is Linda MacMichael and I'm very happy to be here to represent the League of Women Voters of Butte County. The League of Women Voters has over 700 chapters throughout the United States and beyond, and a 100-year history of promoting democratic engagement. While we don't endorse political parties or candidates, we passionately believe that candidate forums such as this are essential to the democratic process, and we seek to engage you, the voter, and you, the candidates. So welcome. A mere 26 days remain until Election Day, so we better get started. The Durham Unified School District has 5 members. There are 3 positions open, 5 candidates are running, and 3 of the candidates are with us tonight. 2 were unable to attend. For our audience, we know you're out there, we can't see you, but thank you for joining us. And to our candidates, thank you for running. The way that the format works is that you will have 2 minutes to do an opening statement. There are 5 questions that you will each answer. You can have up to 2 minutes to answer them. And you have a 2-minute closing. We did randomly select the order in which people would answer the questions. And Catherine, you were selected to go first, so you can begin your 2-minute introduction now. And be sure to unmute yourself. There you go, perfect.
Thank you for inviting all of us this evening to express our views and to just let people know that we are running and that we do care very much about our schools. My name is Kathy Horn. I'm the mom of a 16 and 17-year-old. I'm a retired teacher. I'm a retired school administrator. I grew up in Durham. My picture's above the library, the helmet head hair back in the day. I live in our original family home in Durham with my mother, who's 93, and my girls. My reason for running is I want to continue what we've started. We, through the grace of our Canadian bond that's being used right now, we're almost done with phase 1. We won't have leaky roofs anymore at our school district, and we're very grateful for that. I want to make sure that we get our schools open in the most safe and efficient way possible. We have 85% of our students that families that have been surveyed have agreed to the AV model. And we have 15% that prefer to continue distance learning, which is what works best for their households. And we all have to respect that. We want to make sure that, or I want to make sure, forget we're working here, I want to make sure that our children are back in school. Our kids have been out of school or disrupted for the last 3 years. Our students need the socialization as they need that face-to-face as much as possible. We need to provide it to them in the safest manner. And I hope to be able to bring that to the school district and continue serving our great town. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Thorpe, you're next.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to participating tonight. My name is Matt Thorpe. I'm actually serving right now as an appointed board of trustee. I am an alumni of Durham Unified School District. I was born in Chico and raised in Durham, and I have 2 adult children. I'm married to my wife, Jessica, and have 2 adult children and 1 kids. They're not children anymore. They're adults. One's at Chico State and one's in the Navy. And I have a 13-year-old daughter that's in the intermediate school here at Durham. I'm appreciative to not only the candidates here tonight, but also to our board members that I've been lucky enough to serve with. And also our past board members. I think the reason I got involved was those board members I thought did a good job here in the last several years of pointing us in the right direction. And I thought that I could add some value and support to them and continue the good work that they're doing. And I believe that we're really heading in a positive direction. And I think it does start at the top with the board, but I also know and realize how important the top down is. And I really believe, and now having the opportunity to serve on the board and working with the administrative staff and the teachers and the support staff, all of them, I think they're invaluable, especially in these circumstances that we've had in the last several years of the dam and the campfires. We really, I think, are a resilient community, and I look forward to serving them again for another 4 years if so fortunate, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Loudermilk.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Awesome. Well, good evening. My name is David Loudermilk, and I am also running for the Durham Unified School Board. I would like to first thank my fellow candidates, Mr. Thorpe, Mrs. Horn, as well as the two that couldn't be here with us tonight. I appreciate the fact that they have our community's best interest at heart. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters of Butte County for holding this forum. And I think it, as you mentioned before about how important this is for the democratic process, I can say that it's especially important now on the 100-year anniversary of our 19th Amendment. So with that, what I would like to say to introduce myself is I'm a current teacher. I teach in Yuba City Unified School District, and I began my education career here in Durham. I can say that I've had my boots on the ground in Durham, both as a community member, a volunteer within this community, as well as an educator. I also ran the athletic program at Durham Intermediate School a couple years ago, and I worked very closely with a number of teachers, students, as well as our administrators at the time. I agree with our fellow candidates that our children have very much been impacted these last 3 years. I remember the day of the campfire, I was teaching at Durham High School, and I was teaching to half empty classrooms. I can tell you that the situation we're facing now is extremely fluid. There is a lot of anxiety and frustration, and I hear the community when they express those concerns at the board meeting. I want to let you know that I have heard your concerns. As a member of the Durham Unified School Board, if I'm elected, I will continue to hear your concerns and push for our #1 concern, which is our children in the Durham Unified School District.
Thank you. So our first question, Mr. Thorpe, you will answer first, and it's clear that all three of you are very familiar with the Durham School District. And the question is, what do you like best and value most about the three schools in the Durham that make up the Durham Unified School District?
Well, I think what I like most and value the most is the people. I think in any organization, the people make up the organization and set the core values and the path. And I think that, again, that starts whether you're in the support staff or in the kitchen help, or if you're a teacher or a counselor or administration, and it trickles all the way up to the board. Everybody has a value and has an importance there. And I think that is the most important at Durham. Being a small district, we really hit our highlights there. And I think the other thing is all the programs that we offer, band from elementary all the way to high school, the CTE programs, FFA and intermediate and high schools. I think there's just lots of positives at Durham.
Okay, Mr. Loudermilk, you are next.
Thank you. I would also say that one of the most important things here in Durham at our schools are the people, but more specifically, I like to begin, instead of from the top down, I like to start from the bottom up. And I think our children are really what helps ties this community together. I work with our children in this community at the elementary, intermediate, and high school. I've worked with our teachers. I have seen the dedication. I have seen the blood, sweat, and tears, not literal, that they have put into caring for our community as well as our children. And I've worked with a couple of our current administrators, both at the intermediate school and high school. And I can tell you that this bottom-up approach, keeping our children first and foremost, is at the center of their concerns, is at the center of my concern. And I think that's really what ties our community together, how much we love and care for our children here in Durham.
Thank you. Ms. Horn, next.
The most important is our children. The children are the function, the heart, the soul of a school district. We have an amazing teachers. We have good administrators. We have great support staff. We have, for example, Debbie Slidham, the summer programs, the food being delivered out to areas other districts aren't doing it, making sure our kids have the hot spots. We have good administrators, our bus drivers, our maintenance guys. We have a community that we've developed in this town. And the best part about it is the town is of the school. We become a heart and a soul. We're definitely a big family. And as a family, we make it work. We do whatever we can to make sure our kids get the best education possible. And I'm very, very proud of everything that they've done. And I thank them greatly.
Thank you. Okay, next question. And Mr. Loudermilk, you will be the first person to answer. Here is the question. Well, so Tim, are you timing for 2 minutes or 1 minute?
1 minute.
Oh,
1 minute.
Okay, I told them they could have 2, so.
Oh, I did the 2 minutes for the introduction, but I can go back to 2 minutes on the questions if you want.
Okay, well, I'll give the candidates 2 minutes. You don't have to take 2 minutes, but there is one question here that has several parts. So let's go ahead and give 2 minutes and then you can, okay, we're flexible. We like to be flexible. Okay, so here is the question. The board operates under the authority of the California Constitution, the state legislature, the California Education Code, and the California State Board of Education. To the extent possible, what are your top 3 priorities for your first term in office? Mr. Loudermilk.
Thank you. So for my term in office, my top 3 priorities would begin with reopening our schools. At the board meeting last night, a number of community members expressed their frustrations, their concerns about the well-being of our children. However, as an educator, I can also tell you that those same feelings are shared on the other side as well. And not that there's 2 opposing sides, but really I think we all have a common goal, which is to get our children back into schools. But at the same time, we want our children, we want our community, we want our teachers all to be safe. And so I'm going to say a word here that some people may find in the political realm a dirty word nowadays, and it's called compromise. And I think what's happening now with the decision to reopen our schools is it's not the decision that everybody loves, but it is the decision that can work, especially here in Durham. So my first priority would be to open our schools as safely as possible. My second priority is once those schools are open is, unfortunately, with the shutdown that occurred within the last half year, Durham has had to lay off some workers at our schools that are paramount to keeping equity alive in education. So my second priority would be to rehire those workers. Those workers are a part of our community. Their children attend our schools. And I want to make sure that not only are their children back in school, but they're safe and we have those workers back working in our schools too, because that's what our children know. And my third priority as a member on the board is to eventually get things as back to normal as quickly as possible. I know that we are investing in the infrastructure at the school, and I would like to see that work continue with the next highest need, both within our district and with our students.
Thank you. Ms. Horn, you're next.
I too want the kids back in school as safely as possible. We heard our teachers speaking very clearly last night that they want the kids back in school as safely as possible too. While masks and such is really the issue with some right now, and I understand that our teachers only feel safe having that happen until this pandemic is at a halt. And under California Emergency Services Act, we have to follow the guidelines because we do not want our schools taken over by the county and the state and imposed superintendent placed on us. And that is a real thing that could happen, and we don't want that to happen. So we have to follow the law. We want the kids back in school. I want to make sure that they are academically sound. I want the socialization. At our next board meeting, we will be going, right now, we have in front of us the list of the different sports arenas that will happen. It's going to be redone because of the new timeline, but this acting board has already assured and voted on moving forward in what we hope is December. So we'll know for sure after all the leagues meet, and we'll know that next meeting. The other thing is that I'm looking forward to it. I do hands-on. I take in the cheer uniforms and I let them out, and I will help in any way possible as a mom. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about Durham is you can do so many things, and you're used whatever talent you have to help in your school. The other one is the budget. We were cut $1 million. We need to keep a close track on this. I think we're hiring almost everybody back when we open. And the other thing is we need to finish the bond. We need to keep track of our money. We need to make sure that we're moving ahead. And right now I'm so proud of what's happened because for the first time in years, our kids are going to be well taken care of in the school physical environment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Thorpe.
Well, I'm going to ditto a lot of the same sentiments. I think the first #1 priority is bringing our students and staff back to a safe and in-person education environment. And I think there are many challenges, as discussed at last night's board meeting, and has brought up that we're going to continue to face challenges, and some of them are known and some of them are unknown. Some of them are going to be dictated by obviously high powers with the governor's new directives or the health departments. But I think that we all are on the same sentiment that we want our kids back in school, in person, and but we need to do it in the safest environment to ensure the safety of our staff and the kids. None of us want to put anybody at risk, and we're going to hopefully do it in the most prudent ways we can. And I think that we're all on the same page. I do believe we all want what's best for kids, and we're going to make every effort to make that happen. And there's going to be challenges along the way, but I think we're up for the task. #2 would be ensuring that we operate within the budget constraints that we have. Durham School District is not a rich district. We are not funded by a lot of the funding that a lot of these other counties and districts have. So we're going to have some deficiencies. We're going to face some fiscal deficiencies, not only now, but in the near future, and we're going to be mindful of that. And then my last would fall in Kathy's footsteps there, as well as the bond completion projects. We've made some great strides and made a lot of progress in this last year. And we had a slow start because of the dam incident and the campfire, but we're back on track and we're making a lot of progress. And I do think that it's going to be important for us to maximize every matching dollar we can and make sure every tax dollar is well spent. So thank you.
Thank you. Next question, and Ms. Horn, you will be answering it first. The question is, as one of 5 board members responsible for leading Durham School District, what leadership experience and qualities do you bring to the job? Ms. Horn.
Well, as a former teacher for 42 years, I understand what our teachers are dealing with, the dynamics of trying to do distance learning and making sure every child is getting the attention, the needs they have. We have a vast amount of students with 504s, IEPs. We have a great program that supports these kids. And we have the academic challenges, which I can help with, and I do. Also being a member of the community. I hear, I listen. I'm the mama. I get the phone calls from parents that say, what happened? Why should this happen? And who do I call? And so that's really quite helpful. I think that I have the business knowledge to read the budgets, to work with our accountants and our administrators. Our board is very accountable for every dollar that we spend. We ask the hard questions. We look at what's going on. We support our kids. We support our teachers. And I think that that accountability right there. I was also a union president for years, so I understand the other side of the house. I think that knowing that there are people that count on you and making sure that you do your homework, you read your budgets, you know what's happening within the community, and that you also know where you are financially. Those are big things that have to happen. I think that I bring to the table the mom aspect, where I listen to the kids. They have expectations too, and they right now need to be back in school. And so that's our priority, and I think I can help with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thorpe, leadership qualities and experience.
Thank you. Well, I think there are many qualities of leadership. One that comes to mind is humility. You know, I grew up in a small business, family business, and we wear many hats. I started at the bottom, sweeping floors and sorting parts, and I think there's still days that I still do that. And I think I look at our staff and our district, they wear many hats, and they do lots of probably non-glamorous tasks at time, and some that are very challenging and tough decisions. And being on the board in the last year and a half, very short relative time for me, going through some of the challenges that we've had, I commend all of our staff and our fellow board members of the challenges and the decisions that we've made. And I think our leadership quality is shown in that. And I hope I've been a contributor to that. I think listening and being responsive to the needs and concerns of everyone involved, and that includes our kids, our parents, our community, our staff. I think that's critical, and I think we need to continue to do that, and it's going to be a critical period moving forward doing that as well. I think engaging our stakeholders is important, including in the process in our decisions and being transparent in everything that we deal with, and we've tried to be that way in our board meetings, and I think that doing that face-to-face with our teachers, staff, community members, unfortunately now with the Zoom, there is some complexity to that. I know it's not as in person. I know people would like to engage the board more directly, and we do hear you, and we would like the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Loudermilk.
Thank you very much. So for leadership and experience, there's a number of things that I like to say. First off, thank you very much for that question. I mentioned before boots on the ground. I have my boots on the ground now. I was in a meeting today with one of my students and their families for over an hour, and I saw my student in tears. I see the harm that's happening to our students being outside of our schools. As I mentioned before, I was in the classroom the day of the campfire teaching to empty classrooms. I have that current experience right now in our schools. Some other things I would like to mention is I hear the community. One of my greatest attributes is I think I know how to listen, and I know how to listen to our community. When I was AD at Durham Intermediate School, I was present. I was there at every game. I was the one that set up the bleachers, scrubbed the floors, got the refs, and I greeted every community member at the door when I wasn't running to 4 different stations. So when Measure 10, or Measure X, was on the ballot, a number of people approached me and asked me about it. And I too believe in fiscal responsibility. I don't think that raising bonds or taxes willy-nilly is a good thing to do, but I believed in this, and I do believe this is a great thing for our schools. So I spoke to a number of community members about what a great thing this would be for our schools, because I worked in the schools in Durham and I saw the shape that our schools are currently in. Another one of my qualities is I communicate. I am the only candidate for this board that has published information, my candidate statement, in the voter guide. I'll be found on page 62. I've also created a website, facebook.com/Loudermilk for DUSD. And I've also given out my personal email address. So with my experience as an educator, working in Durham schools, my ability to listen and communicate, I believe that's what makes me a great candidate for this position.
Thank you. Okay, our next question will begin with Mr. Thorpe, and I realize that our candidates have touched on this, but let's give all of you an opportunity to tell us the top 3 challenges in the next 12 months you think Durham Unified will face. And we'll start with you, Mr. Thorpe.
Well, I think, yes, the biggest challenge is getting kids back in the classroom and face-to-face with teachers and back in that curriculum. I think student education is going to be continuing to be a challenge, ensuring our students are receiving evaluations based after this period of being online, and see what the impacts are, whether they're educational, emotional, social. I think that's going to be critical. How they're going to do that, I'm not the expert there. I couldn't tell you, but I do know that that's going to be an important component of what we're going to do and how we're going to evaluate those students. I don't only think it's just the students. I think it's also follows into our staff. There has definitely been a consequence to all these local catastrophes, whether it was the dam event or these fires or the COVID. There's going to be an impact to our staff as well, and I think we need to be mindful for that and understand, how are we going to deal with that and support them. And that's going to take a group effort, and I think our community's been impacted as well, and our kids are, as they've said earlier on, the kids are really the most important. That is the product that we serve, and we need to do what our part is to ensure that they receive the best education, but also socially and emotionally support them. Operating within the budgets of the things that we don't know. That's a second concern, or a third concern really, is that, all these events do not come without a fiscal impact. And we need to be mindful of that, because there is not another revenue source, it's only one. And it's going to be a challenge, but I think we're up for the challenge.
Thank you. Mr. Loudermilk, the top 3 challenges.
Thank you very much for that question. I agree that our very first challenge is going to be to reopen our schools. As I mentioned before, we're finding a compromise, something where we are working within the law, something that may not make every community member or teacher or student happy, but something that does work. I think what we need to prepare for in that, and I know the board and I know the superintendent and our schools have been working on this, are contingency plans, because it's not a matter of if COVID will happen at our schools, it's a matter of when. So being able to control that and keep our staff and students safe and secure and keep our schools open if possible is going to be a huge challenge. Second greatest challenge is going to be our fiscal challenge. I had the opportunity the other day to have a conversation with our superintendent, Mr. Bohannon, and Durham has to be creative. There's not another district close by where we can really match. A lot of people like to compare Durham to Chico Unified School District because our numbers of free and reduced lunch are comparable at around 40% to Chico Unified. Problem is, where Durham has around just over 1,000 students, Chico Unified is 12,000. If we're looking at numbers, maybe we can look at Thermalito, maybe we can look at Live Oak Unified. The problem is, with both those districts, free and reduced lunch numbers are up to about 75% to 90% students who are on the free and reduced lunch program. So they do receive significantly more funding. Durham needs to be creative. And the last thing I would say is we need to be competitive. here in our Durham schools. When I was teaching here in Durham a couple years back, our students were around 1,200. That number has since decreased. How do we remain competitive with school districts around our area? That will require very creative questions as well as solutions. I think we have an excellent superintendent here in Durham who is doing his very best every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Horn?
Well, primary, as we all know, is getting the kids in school and keeping the doors open. Safety and clear, open communication with our community is most important that we've really been seeing. By Monday afternoon, everyone should know what schedule their child is on. If they have an issue, they need to contact their administrator so that everybody's clear, so we can start on the 19th as clearly and in the best academic mode we can. Academics are second. Math, language arts, and the sciences are paramount for those that are college bound and those that even decide that they want to do something else. We have a great link to trade schools. Trade schools are amazing, and we know that some of our kids will be much happier with a trade school because they have those unique skills. We have a great welding program that links to our junior college. Some things like that, we just can't help but just be so proud of. So we need to really emphasize those. We also need to work on and recognize our ag program, which is amazing. The kids, no matter what's going on, through their ag teacher, have already filled out the papers for their steers and such for the fairs. Those were due last week. They did them. They're on track with that. So we're not missing a beat there. Our vineyard is amazing. We have a greenhouse that's growing poinsettias. So all those things are coming into the community for our kids. Our boosters clubs, our ag boosters, our sports boosters, our parent clubs, always there helping. Thank you so much. Financially, we have to be sound. Like I said before, we got cut $1 million. We're only running on 9 million. Hopefully have everybody back at work and stretch those dollars as far as we can. We're trying to be very, very conservative in how we spend the money.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're at the point of our final question, and Mr. Loudermilk, you will be answering first. And the beginning of this question is, I'm going to read something from the Durham Unified School District website, which says, in developing goals and identifying strategies to achieve those goals, the board and the superintendent shall solicit input and review from key stakeholders. The question is, who do you believe are those key stakeholders, and how do you intend to solicit input? And Mr. Loudermilk, you will start first.
Thank you very much for that question. I believe those key stakeholders, number one, will be our constituents, our community members. Those community members include parents here in Durham, as well as their students. I can tell you that before I mentioned that one of my qualities is I listen. So when I did run the athletic program at Durham Intermediate School, I listened quite a bit to people that would come in and attend our games. I had an instance with a community member named Sequoia Stevens. And Sequoia and the Stevens family take sports very seriously. And they push very hard to expand our sports program at Durham Intermediate. I listened, I asked her to do a little bit of work for me, and she did. And when she had those together, I pushed it toward our administrator, Mrs. Fox at the intermediate school. She brought it up to administration. It wasn't something that was going to happen at the time, but I listened and I pushed forward with that. Last night at the board meeting, I heard Janiyah Beatty, once again, talking about her concerns, things that may be happening to our students, affecting their mental health, affecting their social emotional needs. I hear you, Janiyah. And I hear those concerns. That's something I take very seriously. And last, I've also listened at a couple meetings now to Kevin Phillips. I've known Kevin Phillips for a number of years now, mostly in the sports arena, but I know professionally Kevin has a position of leadership and is helping rebuild the town of Paradise. A number of times, Kevin has made the point that we need to set goals as a board. And number one, we need to be able to communicate that to our community. So I listen to our community, and I know our stakeholders will be our constituents, our community members. And if I ever feel that, you know, this is a lot to take on, and I know it is, then I simplify it. And I go back to what is my number one goal here. And I think about our students and our children, because ultimately that is what our goal is. That is what my goal is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Horn, you're next.
Our stakeholders are everyone in this community. It isn't just one person or one group of people. Our community members and our Durham families, and our families that have chosen Durham as their home school. Our oversight committees for the bond bring amazing talents to the table. They are very close in what they do, what they view, and they watch the dollars, but they also give great input. Our employees, they are also part of this key holders business because they're the ones that work it every day. They see what happens. They know what doesn't. We are comfortable in this community to go to their union leaders, their principals, go to the superintendent and let them know, hey, this isn't working. Can we talk about this without any kind of reprimand, which is pretty unusual in a lot of school districts, but in ours, it's the norm. We also need to make sure that we talk to our students. They have a stake in this more than anybody. They're to live in high school, elementary, and intermediate. With the surveys that we put out in the last 2 years, we're getting more feedback. We have open links for parents to talk to us, community members to say things that they want to say. The board members are all there. They want to hear from people. And as a board member and as a member of the community and as a mom, I definitely was concerned about not just our educational process. I'm really concerned about our kids' emotional needs and the fact that these kids need to have that contact with one another, even if we're going to have to do it through carefully through opening with the viruses and such in the schools. We will be careful. We will get our kids there and we will be listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thorpe.
Yes, thank you. I would just concur with most of what was already been said, but I agree. You know, every community member is a stakeholder, a vested stakeholder. I think also that's important is the active members. Obviously, the employees, the staff members, they're obviously a vested interest. Community members, parents, and I think our student leaders. I think they need to be included in that. A lot of what is decided and we talk about and our goals to achieve. And our PTS, they are an invaluable member of our community and to our schools. They spend a tremendous amount of time, effort, fundraising, and those groups that do additional fundraising. So it is a varied group of folks that really will help us establish our goals. We'll define them, and they will evolve. I can see that over these last several years, we've had some challenges that those goals may have had to shift to meet the needs. And I do believe that we have to engage different stakeholders at different times, and certain stakeholders will provide a different value. But I think we all have a common goal for the success of our school and providing the premier education for our students. The kids need to come first. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're at the point of our closing, and Mr. Loudermilk, you'll be going first since you went last in the opening, and you have 2 minutes for your closing.
Well, thank you very much. And once again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters here in Butte County, as well as my fellow candidates, Mr. Thorpe, Mrs. Horn, as well as our other two candidates who are not able to be with us tonight. Thank you very much for running. I appreciate your service as board members and your desire to continue that on our board. What I'd like to tell the community is, while I didn't have the privilege of growing up in Durham, Durham has been the place where I have lived for over a decade, and it's where I've chosen to live and call this place my home. It's a place where I've chosen to raise a family and have my daughter attend the schools here in Durham. I can tell you that beginning my educational career here in Durham was obviously very formative to me to begin to become a quality educator. But it also put me in touch with a number of members of the community, a number of which I had already gained relationships with in volunteer activities with our youth sports programs here in Durham. But I had an opportunity to get to know their children and to even get to know them a little bit more. What I can tell you that as a fellow stakeholder in Durham, as a property owner, I understand the need for fiscal responsibility, and I also understand the need to be accountable. So I want to let you know that I am running on the principles of transparency, accountability, as well as collaboration. I've collaborated at the school level. I've collaborated with our community, and I'm not one that has a hidden agenda. I'm doing this because I love our community, I love our schools, and I want to do the very best I can to help improve this community from the already excellent community it is. So what I want to close with tonight is I would really like to ask for your vote. I will work every day as a board member to do the very best I can to listening, to collaborating, to keeping my boots on the ground, and to being present and available to you as your trustee for the Durham Unified School Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Horn, you are next.
Well, first of all, thank you for hosting this tonight. We appreciate it greatly.
Our pleasure.
It's quite an undertaking under the circumstances, and you've done well. We appreciate it. I just want to say, as a community, to our community, thank you for allowing me to serve the last 4 years. I think we've come a long way. We work with our students, with our community base, our fundraisers, anything that we need to do to make our children have the best education and experiences possible. We will strive for academic growth, developing more trades, our ag program, which is growing amazing speeds and leaps and bounds with our greenhouse and our vineyards. The Fine Arts program, we have an amazing band program and music program. The fine arts are developing into something that you can really be proud of. We want a safe school, working towards that, making sure we're financially sound, that we are physically sound. It's quite the new feeling to have electric buses and to have solar panels going in everywhere, and to have the techniques and the materials and such that probably schools with more budget than ours have, but by crushing those numbers, we try to provide everything for our schools. And our thanks highly to our parent clubs, our boosters clubs. Without you, we couldn't do it. And I personally want our kids always, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Thorpe.
Thank you. I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting us tonight. Thank you. And I would also like to thank our candidates and my fellow board members that appointed me to this term. It has truly been an honor to serve this district and the community and children. The kids are, I think, the most important, and I think we're fortunate enough I think they're fortunate to have all of us vested and want to serve this district. I think everybody has the greatest intentions to do what's right for them. One thing that prompted me to take that appointment when presented was the bond, and I too was not a fan of bonds. I never thought I would vote for a bond, but it was passed, and I actually advocated for it because the schools and facilities had not changed since I had gone here, maybe since Kathy had gone here as well. And, you know, unfortunately, our funding was never going to change that. And, you know, I think it's important as a stakeholder and as a board member that we make those improvements and we make every dollar count. And in the year and a half that I've been here, we've got kind of a slow start. And what's prompted me, part of it is to stay, is to hopefully continue that good work. But also, I've seen a lot of the positive things that the board has been part of. We've got a great administrative staff. We have great principals, and I truly believe the staff at Durham is remarkable. They've been resilient and proven to be resilient through these times, and I would like to continue to serve them. So I appreciate your vote, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. This concludes our forum, and please know that it was really our pleasure to host you, and thank you for joining us. To our audience, again, we can't see you, but we know you're out there. And to our candidates, once again, thank you for running. It's a big commitment in many, many ways. We realize that. And to us all, let's just remember to please vote on November 3rd. Thank you so much.